Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe if you are enjoying what you are hearing. Now, on to today's story. Online Journal Day 18. London has fallen, dear journal, ha 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 ha. Ha ha. 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 You know, my situation isn't the best, but I have to say, today made a lot of bad things worth it. I don't want to leave you in suspense, journal, but I saw the most satisfying thing I've ever seen in my life. I saw London get the taste slapped out of her mouth. Oh sweet baby Jeebus, it was as hilarious and as cathartic as anything I ever witnessed. I never thought I'd see it. Normally I don't think hitting a woman is a laughing matter. But when one sister slaps the piss out of the other sister, gotta say, I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy that. So let's get back to the beginning. My younger cousin Paris has been like my sidekick for a few days now. Almost a week. As I've stated before, she and I did not get along in the past for a lot of reasons, and I've been very on guard about her pretending to want to change now that my uncle cut her lazy ass off, and being pretty and spoiled isn't getting her what she wants out of life. But it's very hard to keep up a hate boner for someone who isn't doing things for you to dislike them. Or it is for me. She's been trying hard to be and stay in my good graces. I still haven't found out why, but her stated reasons of wanting to make amends and be friends again hasn't been easy to dispute. I simply can't figure out her ulterior motive just yet, and I'm not willing to concede that there isn't one. With that said, after our experience together at a store, I've relaxed a bit of my vigil on looking for the okie doke, and am actually quite tired of being kind of an asshole in an effort to get her back off. The last couple of days I've actually enjoyed her presence as we played video games, hung out, and started talking without my guard all the way up. Paris is funnier than I remember, with a sarcastic sense of humor and some good observations of people and life that I didn't suspect she had. Separated from London, she's actually a charming person. We've talked about her schooling and future. She is going for a journalism degree. I made fun of her for being the enemy, and she got really serious and political for a moment. Now, I won't get into my political views here, but I think both parties are a dumpster fire, and people are very stupid for tying their personalities and values into two groups who are more concerned with their own personal power than helping the people. I'm just not someone who thinks one way of thinking solves all problems. You gotta be conservative about some things, you got to be liberal about other things. Anyway, she lectured me on the importance of good journalism, and how the past 4 years has been a nightmare for journalists. She spoke about how politics has destroyed faith in journalism of all kinds, and talked a lot about media, and games journalism, and how a lot of people are now just corporate mouthpieces. I talked to her about what she wanted to do with her future, and she told me she wanted to win a Pulitzer one day for investigative journalism. I honestly never knew she wrote, and she brought up her Wattpad page and some articles she's written for various websites. She's actually very good, though I'm a little weirded out about some of her stories on Wattpad. There were fanfics of stuff like Riverdale, Inuyasha, and Naruto of all things. Didn't know she was into that. But also this ultra weird story she's writing about werewolves and stuff. I won't get into it, but it's awkward. She also writes stories of Marvel characters, which I think is awful, but I'm not going to judge. I didn't really know a lot about what she was into or liked. She apparently logs a lot of hours in Final Fantasy online game and used to play Overwatch with her ex-boyfriend. Turns out she really liked him but broke up with him because of pressure from London and their friends. He was someone she met on the game, but London didn't like her spending all her time at home with him, playing stupid games. She eventually broke up with him, but said she regretted it, because he made her happy and was really sweet. She said she was still kind of upset with herself and at London. I asked why she didn't just call him up and ask him back out. but she said she couldn't. He already moved on and was engaged to someone in their clan who lived in Texas. He had moved out there to be with her. Listen, I know I'm who I am, but I'm not made of stone. I gave my cousin a hug and told her that it was cool. She cried a little bit and I assured her that there were plenty of smelly otaku nerds in the sea. She took my teasing and good spirits and said that he wasn't smelly or fat, and she wouldn't care if he was. But then said when you look like she did, people judge you if you date down. Assuming the guy had money, or a big penis, or something. She said she's been accused of being a gold digger more times than she can count. I asked why she cared at all what anyone else thought if she was happy. She told me I wouldn't understand. It's different for men. I wouldn't know, I've never been equivalently attractive to the other sex as her. We went out with Poppy on the trail and I opened up a bit to her about what I'm dealing with. No big details, but an abridged version. She didn't have enough information to have an opinion, but she was supportive. She asked how long I was staying and I told her the plan was for 3 months. She said she was sorry I was going through my shit, but was grateful I was around. She told me she barely had any friends outside of the people she games with and some of the people in her writing circle. I asked her why that was, and she said all her friends are actually London's friends. I told her most of my friends were busy or have left the state. It seemed no one I went to high school with and was close to stayed in Wisconsin. She asked me would we be hanging out like this if my friends were available. I turned the question back at her and she said yes. I wasn't so sure. But I didn't push it. I told her honestly if there was someone else to hang with I would. She wasn't exactly my favorite person. She's on her best behavior, but given our history I don't think she deserves the benefit of the doubt. I felt bad because she looked kind of crushed, but she smiled and nodded and told me she understood. She said Brianna had said something similar, and she worried that the Brie would have hate her forever. I told her Brianna is way more forgiving than I am. And she just needs to be honest and keep at it. But not to even try if she ain't going to follow through. Brianna is my favorite and I would hate her till the heat death of the universe if she messes that girl up. I joked that I don't want to see her in therapy next to me. She asked me about my therapy sessions and we talked a little about that. I was pretty vague, but she was intuitive about the issues. She asked if Amy was cheating on me and I told her something like that. I asked if she had ever cheated on anyone and she got really quiet and then said not since high school and she didn't really want to talk about it. Day was pretty mellow until London came over. Turns out Auntie Joyce put her foot down. London had come begging for money, not me, or my parents, they weren't here. But Brianna and Paris. Brianna had come over about 3, and has her and we were helping her with her homework. I want you to know that this new math shit is trash. Brianna let her in and she didn't so much as say hi to her. Brianna, Spitfire that she is, was like, "Hi Felicia." And London scoffed a quick hi back before she realized what Brianna had said. She asked where Paris was and Paris came back out the kitchen with snacks. She had them Quest peanut butter cups for diabetics. They're actually pretty decent. There was like a bit of a staring thing, as they kind of mean-mugged each other. Then Paris relented and smiled and asked London how she was and what she needed. Brianna rolled her eyes, but I understood. Paris has always tried to keep her Evila twin happy. London goes on about Uncle Brad all up in their mother's ear and how she won't let her and Chad stay there anymore. Paris suggests she go back to their apartment in Whitewater, but she says no one's up there they hang with right now so she don't wanna go. I also found out then that this apartment is fully paid up for the year by my uncle. I ducking wish someone would have done that for me. She tells Paris Chad wants to rent out a temp place in New Berlin for like $1,400 a month and she wanted Paris to fork over like $3,000 so they can take care of some stuff up front. Paris rightfully wants to know why she can't stay with Chad's family or with some of their friends. But London wanted to be somewhere, no one could tell her what she can and can't do. Paris asked about price and all that and why she couldn't look for something cheaper. She asked if she would want to be slumming it in Milwaukee when she's done hanging out here. She sounded disgusted when she said here. Now I don't make much assumptions, but this is a nice big ass house and a nice ass neighborhood. I doubt her issue is our place. The two argued for a bit but stopped when Brianna sighed and called London a fake-ass diva. London took offense, but Brianna was spitting fire. Talked bad about her. Her attitude and called her a thotty McBitch, which I found hilarious. Brianna said we all know about London being spoiled and selfish, and not even appreciating the fact that she could be spoiled and selfish because of their dad. London corrected her and said, "Your dad," and Paris stood up and said our dad. And backed up Brianna. They argued about that with some highlights being London saying that she's spending too much time around these people, which no isn't her being racist. London is a lot of things, racist is not one of them. And that she is all acting high and mighty all the time and changing. Not to let us break them apart. Paris surprised me by calling her out, saying that only reason she thinks they're drifting apart or that she is changing is that Paris doesn't just hop to and give London her own way. Brianna teased her and said that she always treating people like they're her servants and nobody would want to be around anyone who acted like that. Then London crossed a line and told Brianna nobody wanted her around anyway. It wasn't even just a passing jibe. She reiterated that they were happier without her around and nobody wanted her. I did not see Paris move. I was busy staring at London, wondering if I should ducking slap the taste out her ass. I'm seething with anger cause I see Brianna go from shocked to tearing up. I mean, I'm not even telling it right, but London was absolutely venomous on that. So when Paris laid thunder on this bitch's face I was shocked again. She slapped the ever-loving shit out of that girl. Hard as duck. Like, echo hard. Knocked her shades off and she dropped her phone. She went to say something again and damn, Paris slapped her ass again. And I wanted to cheer. Oh my god. My entire life I have wanted someone to smack this bitch. I think I loved Paris more in that moment than I ever had. Unfortunately my wish that she came around with the backhand didn't happen, so I had to settle for the 2 slaps. Paris snatched London's purse and fiddled around and took some keys out and threw it back to London and told her to get the duck out. London had 2 big ass handprints on her face. Those girls are pale as shit, so that red mark was like very obvious. I wish she would have put one on each cheek, but she had one on the left cheek, and the first was a little on the side of the face, a partial. London cries like saying she hit her and that she's letting us turn her against her. And Brianna said no one against her, she always on bullshit. Brianna said some other stuff, she was yelling and crying, but I was too busy staring at London in awe. I'm like say something else. Oh my god say something else. I'm not really saying it, but I'm thinking it hard as I can. She turns to say something to Brianna, but Paris like tenses up and she keeps her mouth closed and I am disappointed. She asks how she's supposed to get anywhere without a car and Paris unleashes on her about giving her car to her father, a lot of shit about their father, all kinds of shit and everyone but me is crying and shouting. And I'm like, hit her again. I'm sorry. I know I'm not in the best of moods to deal with women, and they silly shit, so if I want to see a evil woman get her comeuppance physically, please do not begrudge me this. I would never hit London. I would never hit my wife. But I would not step in if Danny or Paris slapped the shit out of them. The sight was ducking cathartic. Eventually I called London an Uber and Paris took Brianna downstairs to the game room and I'm left with London, waiting for the Uber. All is silent, and I probably look like the cat that caught the canary. I'm eating my peanut butter cups all slow with my almond milk and just ducking, enjoying the awkward tension in the air. Finally she says after 15 minutes. "You're an asshole, unfettered." I ask her how I'm an asshole. I didn't lay hands on her. She scowls at me and tells me I've always come between her and her sister and that she doesn't know why Paris listens to me. I again have a question about people's recollection of the past. London has always been your same-sized mini-me and she never really listens to anyone but you. She gives me this ducked-up look and says whatever. I tell her she needs to get her shit together and stop acting like a spoiled bitch. She gets mad and Poppy growls at her. "Yeah, don't yell at me in front of my dog. He bit her ass like a few years back, so, she afraid of him." I tell her plain. She got a great life. Great things ahead of her and family that ducking support her. I know she going through her own shit and I know what her dad did to her. She scowls at me and is crying, tells me her dad didn't do anything to her. I say, "He at the very least abandoned you, only comes up to hit you up for money and you take all you abandonment issues out on my uncle and me, and everyone else." I tell her she need therapy, and that one day she gonna wish she had a better relationship with Brianna. I think she gonna say some smart as shit, but she cries and get up. And just says to tell Brianna she's sorry and she didn't mean it. I ask her where she going, but she says she just gonna wait outside. And she does. It's cold, but I don't stop her. She out there crying. I'm glad she out there crying. I'm not good with crying women. Bleeding heart and all that. It's why I can't be nowhere near my wife right about now. I even feel bad for London. I walk outside, and I hug this bitch. I tell her, we all ducked up in some way. She ain't gotta pretend like she better or different, we all ducked up and that's okay. She just cries into my chest and doesn't say anything. Her Uber comes and I tell her I'll pay for it on the app, and she nods, "No thank yous," and leaves. By the time I get back downstairs, Brianna is fine. Her eyes are red but she's talking about how Paris slapped London and how cool that was. She's really animated about it and I go over there and hug her. Brianna is my heart. I got other cousins and nieces and nephews, but Brianna is my favorite and everyone knows it. I ask her if she'd like anything and she asks me if I would make spaghetti, my spaghetti, not the healthy monstrosity my mom makes. I tell her sure and I give her a hug. The rest of the day went as planned and I made spaghetti, even my mom ate it. 'Cause my spaghetti is the shit. Some folks might say the day was full of drama. But drama was only a small part of the day. And it wasn't my drama. Personally, if I can have a day where my problems don't seem that big, the food is good, I'm happy and get to chill with Brie and I get to see London get the piss smacked out of her. That's a good day. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Have an awesome day or night. Wherever you are.